I grew up in a pretty safe neighborhood. It was quiet and suburban. Everybody sort of kept to themselves. When I started college, I decided to keep living at home. The campus wasn't too far away, and the dorms were very expensive. That decision worked out just fine. My parents were happy that I wasn't leaving the nest yet. And I didn't have to deal with all the on-campus drama that my friends were constantly complaining about. Plus, I still got to socialize whenever I wanted. Most nights, I'd go out to parties and then drive back home well after midnight. And because I was so familiar with our street, I never felt unsafe. Well, that all changed last month when I was coming home from a game night in my friend Rachel's dorm room. It was a little past 2 in the morning, so the neighborhood was really dark and quiet. When I pulled onto my street, I saw a man in a hoodie walking alone. There was something about the way he moved that unnerved me. It's hard to describe. It didn't look like he was supposed to be there. I couldn't see his face, but even if I did, I wouldn't have recognized him. Despite living here my whole life, I didn't really know any of my neighbors. I'm sure he noticed my headlights, but he kept walking at the same slow, trudging pace. I decided to just stop my car and wait until he walked past my house. I didn't want to get out until he was far away. He kept walking, head down, body stiff. I noticed that he kept one hand in front of him, as if he was hiding a weapon or something. Finally, he made it past my house and disappeared into the shadows. I tried to tell myself there was nothing to be afraid of. He's just a neighbor. He's minding his own business. Still, my heart was pounding as I drove the rest of the way to my house. I pulled into the driveway and switched off the engine. Before I got out, I looked all around to make sure that the stranger wasn't there. At this time of night, with the yard covered in long shadows, my own home looked so unfamiliar. "You can do this. Just get your keys ready and run to the front door." I kept my keys between my fingers in case I needed to use them as a weapon. Then, I took a deep breath and jumped out of the car. I ran up my porch and I struggled to open the lock. My hands were shaking horribly, so it took me a few tries. I looked over my shoulder. I swear I heard someone. The yard was empty. Everything was motionless. Then, just as I pushed the door open, I noticed dirty brown shoes sticking out from the bottom of our hedge. That man was hiding in the bushes, less than 10 feet behind me. I went inside and slammed the door shut, locked it, deadbolted it. Took a long moment to catch my breath. When I looked out the window in our front door, I couldn't see the shoes anymore. I tried to tell myself that I imagined them, but deep down I knew that I didn't. I immediately went upstairs to my parents' room to tell them, but when I heard Mom snoring and realized that their door was locked, I gave up. I'd tell them in the morning. Needless to say, I couldn't sleep that night. Well, the next morning, my parents were downstairs in the living room talking with a policeman. What's going on?" My dad explained that our neighbor Mr. Johnson had been abducted last night. The cops were going door to door trying to find information. I instantly knew that I had seen the culprit, probably right after he left the Johnson's house. I had to tell them the truth. The female officer wrote down everything that I said, but the male officer was a lot tougher. He demanded to know why I didn't call the police last night. I started sobbing. I didn't know why I kept silent. I knew something was off, and I should have called 911. At the very least, I was able to describe the hoodie and brown shoes. That had to help them, right? Mom came over and hugged me. Dad kept his distance. He looked so angry at me. The cops warned us to keep our doors locked and stay vigilant until they caught the person. And then they left. That was it. I didn't feel safe here. I thought about crashing at my friend's dorm, but it scared me to leave my parents alone here. If something happened to them, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Well, after the cops left, Mom tried to cheer me up with pancakes for breakfast. Dad still seemed angry, but he kept reassuring me that nothing would happen to us. He sounded so certain, but I didn't believe him. We were on high alert for the next few weeks. I still went to class and came home immediately afterward, always before sunset. I didn't eat. I barely slept. Yes, I was crippled with fear, but mostly I was filled with regret. If I hadn't ignored what I saw, then the abductor would have been caught. If something like that ever happened again, I'd make sure to do the right thing. Dad seemed particularly upset. Life moved on. One evening, I was dressing up to go out on a date. Now, I didn't have any black heels that would go with my outfit, so I checked out my parents' closet to find Mom's extra pair. I had to dig around the back of the closet, and that's when I saw it. Dad's hoodie. Dad's brown shoes. The same clothes that the abductor wore. All this time, I thought that a psychopath had invaded our neighborhood. But the real psychopath lived in my house the whole time. I frantically grabbed my phone and snapped a photo. My hands trembled as I stared at the photo on my phone. There was no mistaking it. The dark hoodie with the familiar tear on the sleeve, the scuffed brown shoes with the distinctive laces, they were Dad's. The man I'd seen that night, the one hiding in our bushes, was my own father. I couldn't breathe. Without thinking, I bolted out of the closet and ran downstairs, my bare feet slapping against the wooden floors. "Mom!" I gasped, shoving the phone toward her in the kitchen. She was wiping down the counter, but she turned slowly at my voice. "Look at this!" I whispered urgently. "I found these in the closet. The hoodie, the shoes. They're Dad's. He was the one on the street that night. The one who took Mr. Johnson." Mom glanced at the screen, and instead of horror, a strange calm settled over her face. "I know," she said quietly, setting the dishcloth aside. "You know?" My stomach dropped. Shock hit me like ice water. Dad abducted Mr. Johnson? He's been keeping him in the basement? Torturing him? She nodded, her eyes steady but distant. "Yes, that's where he goes at night. He's been handling things down there since that night." I stared at her, my mind reeling. This was my safe suburban home. My ordinary parents. "Why, Mom? How could you let this happen? We have to call the police. We have to stop him." She shook her head firmly, refusing to meet my gaze fully. "It's complicated, sweetheart. Some things are better left in the past. Your father had his reasons, and I stand by him. This is family business now. No police." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Desperate, I rushed to the basement door at the end of the hallway and twisted the knob hard. It was locked tight with a heavy padlock I had never noticed before. I rattled it frantically, pulling and yanking until my knuckles hurt. "Mom, please, give me the key. We can't just keep a man prisoner down there." She placed a gentle but firm hand on my shoulder. "Leave it be. Everything will be over soon. Go upstairs and try to rest." The rest of the evening dragged by in tense silence. Dad came home acting completely normal, chatting about his day over dinner as if nothing had changed. I could barely eat, my thoughts spinning. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I tossed and turned in bed, every creak of the house making my heart race. Images of the hooded figure, the shoes in the bushes, and now the locked basement flooded my mind. Around 2 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out of bed, grabbed a flashlight, and crept downstairs. I remembered the spare key that Dad sometimes left in the kitchen drawer. My fingers shook as I found it and unlocked the basement door. The stairs creaked under my weight as I descended into the damp, musty air. A metallic smell hung thick in the darkness. In the corner, Mr. Johnson was tied to an old wooden chair, his face bruised and swollen, muffled groans escaping the gag in his mouth. Dad stood over him, tool in hand, in the middle of torturing him. "Dad, stop!" I cried out, stepping into the light. He whirled around, surprise flashing across his face. You shouldn't be down here." "Why are you doing this? He's our neighbor!" Without a word, Dad reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He swiped through it and he held the screen up to me. The pictures showed Mom and Mr. Johnson in intimate moments. They were having an affair. "Your mother betrayed us with him right under our roof. I found out months ago. This is how I make it right." I swallowed hard, anger and shock twisting inside me. What's your endgame here, Dad? You can't keep him forever." A grim smile crossed his face. "Tonight is the last night we'll be seeing Mr. Johnson. By morning, it'll all be over. Then we lock the basement forever. No one will ever know." I stood there, my parents trying to protect their relationship. I was impressed by their cold resolve, by how they had kept this secret and ended the threat. "Okay," I whispered. Together, we made sure Mr. Johnson was securely tied. Dad finished with cold efficiency. We climbed the stairs, closed the heavy door, and locked it tight with a final, echoing click. Without another word, we went upstairs. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. The neighborhood quiet once more.
Hey fam, Mr. Broccoli this side. Do subscribe and hit the like button if you're enjoying this video.
Jessica and I had been best friends since college. 6 months before the camping trip, she showed me exactly how little that friendship meant to her. But I buried it deep, smiled through the texts, and agreed when she suggested that we get away for a long weekend. "Oh, we need this, Johnny," she said over the phone. "Just us. No bullshit, like old times." I said yes because part of me still hoped she'd changed. The other part, the one that replayed that night on loop, wanted to see if karma was real. We loaded up my old 4x4 and we drove out to the spot I'd found online. A semi-remote patch of woods with a couple of fire pits and those weathered picnic tables that looked like they had been there since the 90s. The outhouse stood off to the side. It was perfect. Quiet, no cell service, just trees and the faint hum of insects. We unpacked, pitched the tent, and cracked open a couple of beers while the sun dipped low. She wandered off to check the outhouse first. I heard the door creak open and then shut quick. A second later, she tried the other one and disappeared inside for a few minutes. When she came back, her eyes were wide. That mischievous grin I used to love plastered across her face. "Go check out the first one, trust me." I figured some animal had died in there or some kid had taken a shit on the seat. I walked over, pulled the door open, and stopped dead. 3 big backpacks leaned against the wall. "What the hell?" I muttered. Jessica was right behind me. "Open them." I already peeked. The first 2 were packed with good gear. Sleeping bags, a portable stove, rain jackets, even a first aid kit that looked barely used. Quality stuff. The third one was different. I unzipped it and stared. It was stuffed to the brim with gummy bears. Bulk bags, little fun-sized packets. The original flavor, tropical, sour, even those wild berry ones they stopped making for a while. Every color, every size, just piled in there like some lunatic's hoard. Who the hell camps with so many bags of gummy bears? I said. Some weirdo, obviously. Look at this shit. It's like a gummy bear shrine. We should take one bag. Souvenir. Come on, Johnny, live a little. I hesitated. What if the owner comes back? I haven't been here in days. No footprints, no fresh trash. We eat a few handfuls, leave the rest. No harm. She already had her hand in the bag, ripping open a tropical pack and popping a green one in her mouth. See? Delicious. And free. We dragged the gummy bear bags back to camp like it was loot. That night, we built a fire, cooked hot dogs, and passed the bag back and forth. Jessica ate a lot. These things are addictive. Yeah, I said, watching the fire. The next 2 days blurred together in that easy way camping does. We hiked a short trail, swam in the cold creek nearby, talked about nothing and everything. She told me about the guy that she was seeing back home, how he was too nice and she was bored. I lied and said my job was going great, even though I'd been passed over for a promotion because of that damn video from 6 months ago still floating around in people's phones. She never mentioned it once. Not once. The third night, everything changed. We had gone to bed at around midnight. I woke to shouting. Where the hell are they? My bears! Oh, my beautiful little bears! I left them right there in the and now they're gone! I sat up fast, heart hammering. Jessica stirred beside me, groggy. What's that? Someone's out there, I whispered. The shouting got closer. I know you're here! I can smell the wrappers! You stole my life! My colors! My perfect little bears! Come out, you thieving pieces of We scrambled out of the tent. The man stepped into the firelight that we'd kept low. He was fat, easily 300 pounds, belly hanging over shorts, a ripped gray t-shirt stretched tight across his chest. His face was red and puffy, tears streaking his cheeks. My bears! The sour ones that make my mouth water! The tropical that tastes like vacation! God! Who took my sweetness? Who took my babies? Jessica froze beside me. The bag sat by our cooler, half empty, bright wrappers scattered like evidence. Before I could think, the words flew out of my mouth. It was her! Jessica ate them! She went through the whole bag! She's the one who took your perfect bears! The man's head snapped toward her. You ate my babies? Jessica's mouth opened. Johnny, what the hell? We both... Well, if you're wondering why I did what I did, let me tell you. 6 months ago, Jessica did a prank on me that made me a laughingstock in front of our friends. We were at Mike's birthday party. Things were getting crazy between us that night. She'd been flirting all evening. We slipped into the back bedroom. She tied my wrists to the bedpost with her scarf, blindfolded me, and said it was going to be the best night of my life. And then suddenly, the blindfold came off and the lights flipped on. All our friends, the whole crew, were standing there, laughing. She had texted them the second I was tied up. They saw everything. Now, a confession here. I'm tiny, if you know what I mean. They took pictures, videos. The group chat blew up for weeks. Tiny, tied-up Johnny. The human piñata. The baby corn man. Girls stopped talking to me. My boss saw one of the clips, somehow, and I lost the promotion I had been working on for a year. Now, she told me later it was just a joke to loosen me up, that I took it too seriously. But she knew exactly what she was doing. She took everything from me. The fat man stared at me for a second, and then at her. "You smell like them. I can tell from here." He moved faster than a man that size should. Jessica screamed and tried to run, but he caught her around the waist, lifting her up off the ground like she weighed nothing. "Yeah, you do smell like my gummy bears. Sweet, fruity, all the flavors I love. You stole them, so now you're mine." "Johnny, help me! Get him off! Johnny, please don't just stand there, you m-" I didn't move. The fire crackled. The man laughed. He started dragging her backward into the trees. "Come on, sweet thing. We're gonna have a rainbow party." Her screams faded into the dark. "Johnny, you coward! I hate you!" Then nothing. Just crickets and the fire popping. I stood there a long time. My hands weren't even shaking. I packed up slow, rolled the tent, loaded the 4x4. I left the 2 gear bags and the rest of the gummy bears right where they were. Drove out before dawn. The whole way home, I felt lighter than I had in months. Karma. Simple as that. I got back to my apartment and I didn't tell a soul. A week later, Jessica showed up at my door. She looked like hell. Bruises on her neck and wrists. Hair hacked short like she had done it with a dull knife. Eyes hollow. She smelled like sugar. She didn't come inside. She just stood there on the welcome mat and said, "He kept me in a tiny old house, tied me to a chair, melted the gummy bears. Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song. I want more bears and that summer feeling. It's so wonderful and warm. Breathe me in, breathe me out. I don't know if I could ever go without. I'm just singing out loud. I don't know if I could ever go without. Watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar." This is not the end of it. He made me eat more gummy bears until I puked. Told me I was his new stash. Said I tasted better than the sour ones. I got away when he passed out on the candy wrappers. Walked 2 days. You gave me to him. On purpose. Yeah, I did. She left without another word. We haven't spoken since. Now, 2 days after that, the cops called. Some ranger found the site. The bags, signs of a struggle. They summoned me for questioning. I sat in the little room at the station and told them everything, except the part where I felt nothing but relief. We found the backpacks, took 1 bag of candy. Some huge guy showed up screaming about it. Grabbed her. I was scared. I ran. They believed me. Case closed. I lived in the upstairs unit of a quiet brick apartment building for 4 years before Emily and Ryan moved into the place directly below me. From the first week, their voices carried up through the old floorboards like they were in the same room. I told myself it was just thin construction, nothing to get involved in. The day they arrived, I helped carry a couple of boxes when I saw them struggling on the sidewalk. Over the next few weeks, we settled into neighborly hellos on the stairs and the occasional shared coffee on the small shared porch. One Thursday night at around 10, I was reading on the couch when their voices rose up through the floor. "You swore you'd stop this," Ryan said. "Every time I turn around, you're on the phone making up another story." Emily's reply came sharp. "You're twisting everything again. I was talking to my sister. You want me to cut off my own family now?" "You don't have a sister, Em. That's what I'm saying. You told the landlord that you had one last month so that she'd waive the pet fee, but we don't even have a pet." A long silence. And then Emily laughed. "God, you really do think I'm crazy, don't you?" I closed my book. It was none of my business. 2 days later, she knocked on my door at 7 in the evening. Her eyes were red. "Mark, I'm sorry to bother you. Can I sit for 5 minutes? Ryan's out of town tonight." I let her in. She dropped onto the couch like her legs had given out. "He's convinced I'm lying about everything. It started small, and now he checks my phone, reads my emails, accuses me of having secret bank accounts. I keep thinking if I just prove I'm not hiding anything, he'll calm down. But the more I show him, the more he says I'm hiding something else." I poured her a glass of water. "Have you thought about couples counseling?" "He says counselors are in on it. Whatever it is." She rubbed her temples. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't dump this on you. You seem like a decent guy, that's all. Someone who doesn't twist words for fun." After that night, she started coming upstairs more often when Ryan traveled. She never stayed long, never touched me, never flirted. She just talked. Sometimes she asked me to listen for a minute if I heard anything strange below. "Just so I know I'm not imagining it," she said once. I began paying attention. I heard Ryan's voice at odd hours, calm one moment, then suddenly accusing her of moving money he couldn't account for. I heard Emily crying. I heard her telling him, voice steady and reasonable, "If you keep this up, I'm going to have to leave for my own safety." Then Ryan would go quiet, and then the next day she would be bright and smiling again when I passed her on the stairs. One Sunday afternoon, she asked me downstairs to help move a heavy bookshelf. Ryan was supposed to be gone until Monday. When I lifted the shelf, she stood by the window twisting a ring on her finger. "You ever feel like someone's rewriting your life while you're living it?" she asked. I set the shelf down. "What do you mean?" "Ryan keeps a second phone. I found it last week. He's been texting someone named Claire, telling her I'm unstable and that he's scared for his life. He's building a paper trail, Mark, so when he finally pushes me out, everyone will believe he was the victim." She showed me a screenshot of her phone, messages that did look incriminating. I felt my stomach tighten. What are you gonna do?" I asked. "I'm documenting everything now. Dates, times, what he says. If it gets bad enough, I may need someone to tell the police that I was scared. Could you do that? Just tell them what you've heard?" I hesitated only a second. "If it comes to that, yeah." She touched my arm briefly, the first time she'd ever done that. "Thank you. You have no idea what that means." That evening, I sat in my living room listening harder than I should have. Around 9, I heard Ryan's voice, even though she had said that he was out of town. "You're sick, Emily. You need help." Her reply was ice. "And you're going to lose everything if you keep pushing me. I have copies of the transfers, Ryan. Every single one." I froze. Transfers? She had never mentioned money to me. I started noticing other things. When I passed their open window one evening, I heard her alone, speaking in a voice lower and slower than her normal one. He believed the part about the sister. Good. Keep it simple. Then a strange, satisfied chuckle that didn't sound like her at all. The freaky part hit me later that same week. I came home late from a work dinner and I saw Ryan's car in the lot. I decided to drop off the drill that I'd borrowed earlier. Their door was cracked open. I knocked once and then pushed it wider. Emily stood in the middle of the living room in front of a full-length mirror wearing one of Ryan's dress shirts. She was practicing expressions. First a trembling lower lip, and then wide, innocent eyes, and then a sudden hard glare. She spoke to her reflection in the voice that I had heard through the floor. You think you can leave me with nothing? I will burn your reputation to the ground. I'll tell them you hit me. I'll tell them you threatened to kill me. And Mark upstairs will back every word because he already feels sorry for me. She noticed me in the reflection and spun around. For half a second, her face stayed cold and calculating. Then it melted into the familiar wounded look. Mark! God, how long have you been standing there? I stepped back. I was returning the drill. Door was open. She walked toward me slowly, hands open like she was calming a frightened animal. It's not what it sounds like. I was rehearsing what I'm going to say if he tries to turn this around on me. I have to be ready. He's been draining our joint account. I moved some money to protect myself, that's all. He's making me out to be the thief. I wanted to believe her. The version of Ryan I had constructed from her stories was cruel and paranoid. The man who sometimes waved at me in the parking lot seemed tired and ordinary. I need you to do something for me. Tomorrow night, he's coming back. If you hear us fighting, call the police and tell them that you're worried he's going to hurt me. Just say you've heard the threats. You don't have to lie. You've heard him raise his voice. I told her I would think about it. That night I didn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I heard them again. But this time, both voices were low and vicious. Claire isn't real, is she? You made her up so that you could accuse me of cheating and get the neighbors on your side. You really want to play that game? I have bank statements with your name on transfers to an account you said didn't exist. I have screenshots of you telling the landlord I'm unstable. I have Mark ready to swear that he heard you threaten me. Oh, you're a fucking ghost, Emily. You rewrite every room you walk into. The next afternoon, Ryan knocked on my door. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Can I talk to you? He asked. We stood in my kitchen. He didn't sit. She's done this before. Different city, different guy. She picks someone stable, moves in, starts small lies and then bigger ones. Builds sympathy. Then, she empties the accounts and leaves with a restraining order in her favor and half the savings. I thought I could help her. I was wrong. He showed me emails from a man in Phoenix warning him about Emily. Same pattern, different names. He showed me statements. The transfers had been made from Emily's laptop while he was on the road. She's good. She makes you feel like you're saving her. And then she uses you as a witness against the person that she's actually robbing. I remembered her practicing in the mirror. The cold calculation before she switched to the trembling victim. The way that she had asked me to call the police before any crime happened. That evening, I heard her knock on my door. I didn't open it. Through the wood, she called, "Mark, I really need to talk. It's bad tonight." I stayed silent. She tried again, voice cracking perfectly. He's going to hurt me! Please, you said you'd help! I walked to the back of the apartment so that I wouldn't hear the next part. 2 days later, a moving truck arrived. Ryan loaded up boxes while Emily stood on the sidewalk watching him. She caught me watching from the upstairs window and held my gaze for a long moment. No tears this time. Just a small, almost amused shrug, as if to say, you were temporary anyway. Ryan left first. She followed an hour later. She never looked up again. I never saw either of them after that. For weeks, I kept expecting her to come back with another story, another perfectly reasonable explanation that would make me doubt what I had seen in the mirror. Sometimes at night, I still hear the cadence of her voice rising through the floorboards, even though the unit below's empty. I changed the locks on my own door, even though no one was coming. I stopped helping neighbors with boxes.
Last September, my husband Joe bought himself a motorcycle. It was definitely a midlife crisis decision. He had just turned 60. I begged him not to. I literally showed him motorcycle accident videos on my phone, but he wouldn't hear me out. I eventually made him a promise that if he always wore his helmet, which wasn't required in our state, that I would do the best that I would do to accept it. Thankfully, he didn't go for long rides, just a couple hours at a time. But whenever he was gone, I turned into a nervous wreck. Joe was the sweetest, most genuine person you ever met, and I was terrified of losing him. One evening, he went for a ride before dinner. It started raining about 20 minutes after he left. Very soon, the rain turned into a full-on monsoon. I could see the trees shaking wildly through the windows. Joe had never driven his motorcycle in bad weather before, so I prayed that he came back right away. After an hour, he wasn't back. I didn't know at the time, but Joe actually tried to return home. He was 2 minutes away from our house when he skidded over a pothole and lost control of his bike. He was passing the local cemetery at the time. His front tire jammed into the pothole, and his body was thrown into the air and over the cemetery wall. He slammed against a headstone and passed out. A passing driver called 911 and Joe was taken to the hospital. A nurse called me and told me to come immediately. When I got there, Joe was lying in his bed. Doctors told me that he was extremely lucky. He had sprained his wrist and cracked 2 ribs, but otherwise unharmed. They did all the brain scan stuff and couldn't find any signs of a concussion. I cried in relief. The doctor left the room, and I asked Joe how he was feeling. "I could use a cigarette," he muttered. Joe hadn't smoked since he was a teenager, and I wasn't about to let him restart. I told him no, and he threw a bedpan at me. That was very unlike him. I ran out of the room and pulled the doctor aside. "Doctor, are you sure he doesn't have any brain trauma?" He told me that they triple-checked everything. I described Joe's sudden change in personality, and the doctor said that outbursts were normal after an accident. I didn't have anything to worry about. I didn't believe him, though. Joe stayed at the hospital overnight. I was planning to sleep on the chair in his room, but he ordered me to leave. The next morning, I went back to pick him up, and he was still in a foul mood. The only time he talked on a long drive back home was when we were passing the cemetery. He pointed out where the accident had happened. I saw the headstone that he struck was cracked in 2. After that, he didn't say anything. For the next 5 days, I tried to take care of Joe at home. I brought him his meals in bed and made sure that he walked enough each day. The whole time, he was openly rude to me. Foods that he used to like suddenly tasted horrible. He didn't even want to sleep in the same bed as me, so I moved into the guest room. There were other changes, too. He kept demanding cigarettes until I had to drive to the store. Very soon, our bedroom reeked of smoke. He started using different words. He asked for a pop, even though he always said soda. He sneezed when our cat was around, even though he never had allergies before. And strangest of all, he started calling me Gloria, which wasn't my name at all. At first, I thought it was a joke, but no, he genuinely thought my name was Gloria. I corrected him the first few times, but after a while I started answering to it. Eventually I had enough. He never acted like this before. Something happened to his brain during the crash. I told Joe that I was taking him back to the hospital. That was a statement, and I wasn't backing down. Slowly, he pushed himself out of bed and limped towards me. I thought he was finally listening to reason until he grabbed my shoulders. "I'm not going back there, Gloria," he yelled in my face. Then he pushed me against the wall. His face was twisted into pure hatred. I ran. Joe chased me out the room and into the hall. I screamed the whole time. He carried his lunch tray with him, wielding it like a weapon. I tried to dive into the bathroom and lock the door behind me, but he was too fast. He yanked me back into the hallway and dragged me toward the balcony. I tried to pull free, but he whacked me with the tray. Once we were on the balcony, he closed the door behind us and let me go. He casually tossed the tray over the edge and watched it fall. "Jump with me, Gloria." Our house was 2 stories tall, but our balcony looked pretty steep over the ravine. If we jumped, we would most likely die. He held out his hand as an invitation. "Please." I pretended to reach for his hand, and then I pushed him out of the way and ran back inside. I locked the balcony door. He pounded on the glass, but I wouldn't let him in. Then he just stopped and sat on the ledge staring at me, seemingly giving up. I ran into the other room and grabbed my phone, but when I came back, the balcony was empty. I opened the door and looked down into the ravine, but I couldn't see his body. Did he climb down the wall? Was that even possible? I went downstairs and looked all around the house, but he was gone. I got into my car and drove around the neighborhood looking for him. It was the middle of the night, and I didn't see anything in our dark street. I was too afraid to go back home, so I decided to keep driving and go to the police station for help. On my way, I passed the cemetery. I saw a still broken headstone, but this time, there was an old woman standing in front of it. I don't know why, but something compelled me to stop the car and talk with her. I parked a few feet away and joined her in the cemetery. The name broken on the headstone was Joseph, just like my husband. I introduced myself to the woman and asked her why she was here. "I heard my ex-husband's grave was defaced. I had to see it for myself," she said. "I'm so sorry about that." "Don't be," she explained. "I'm glad it's broken." She said that her dead husband was violent, a chain-smoking psychopath. He spent the last 3 years of his life in a hospital for the criminally insane. He was a terrible person. I told him I would never be putting my name next to his. I asked her what her name was. She turned to me, looked me dead in my eyes, and told me her name was Gloria. As Gloria talked, all I could think about was my Joe. This woman's dead husband sounded exactly what my husband was going through, how he acted. Had the spirit of this man possessed Joe? That would explain all his changes. Then again, so would a concussion. Eventually, I told myself that I was reading too much into things. Ghosts weren't real. Dead people couldn't possess you. It was all a weird coincidence. The woman asked me why I'd come, and I told her for no reason. Then I waved to her and left. To this day, my husband is still missing. The police searched the area around my house, including the ravine, but they couldn't find him. I don't expect to ever see Joe again. But if you do, I don't think it's him anymore.